Good, happy Friday morning, September 13, 2019. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this morning, so let's get started. First up, Pinkerton Academy investigating allegations of sexual assault among students. Officials say allegations reported to state officials. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9, Siobhan Lopez.
Mrs. Smith, we got your water test results back.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so your arsenic levels are really high.
In a letter to the Pinkerton Academy community, Headmaster Dr. Timothy Powers says the school was made aware yesterday and today of serious allegations of sexual assault against Pinkerton students by other Pinkerton students. Calling the allegations deeply disturbing, Dr. Powers says, quote, "They do not reflect our school community's shared values or expectations around what constitutes appropriate and acceptable behavior." According to the letter, the school has notified the New Hampshire Division of Children, Youth, and Families, Derry Police, and is engaging the services of a private investigator to assist in an internal review.
It honestly really comforts me to know that, the school is trying to take action and see what really happened.
Kayla Orell graduated in the spring, but says she still has friends at the school and was aware of the allegations. She says they tried to hold some sort of protest this morning.
We were basically trying to put the message across that, everyone deserves to be treated equal. And, if these girls are going to step up and, really say something like this and they want to, basically be safe in their own school.
The headmaster's letter goes on to say, quote, "All members of our community have a right to feel safe and protected on campus, and we consistently strive to support our students, faculty, and staff in this regard." Now, the school is aware of some kind of protest planned for tomorrow, and while they won't discourage any kind of demonstrations, the headmaster says that all students are expected to be seated in their classrooms at the start of school. You can find his full letter on our website, WMUR.com. We're live in Derry tonight. Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Second poll this week shows Landusky leading GOP Senate primary race. But former Trump campaign allies hosting DC fundraiser for Bulldog at NRSC headquarters. A second independent poll of the Republican U.S. Senate primary race released this week has former Donald Trump campaign manager Corey Landusky with a significant lead over three declared candidates. Nashua police struggle to deal with suicide of colleague. Chief says he hopes sharing story will help others. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
customers will call in or email in and just tell us that I was at the store, and from the beginning of the sale till the delivery, it was a great experience. And as a business owner, that's what we strive for.
Visit us at powellstone.com.
Captain Jonathan Lado was a 20-year veteran of the Nashua Police Department, an attorney, but above all, he was respected and loved by those who knew him. While visiting family in Seattle, he took his own life.
He was the epitome of what you would want as a police officer. He was just good with people.
The chief grew up with John and says everyone was stunned by his death. They hope by going public, they can save others.
We are doing this with the support of his family to recognize that John Lado was an amazing human being, an amazing police officer, and for whatever reason, which we don't know, he took his life.
Nashua has a peer support group for employees, as do several departments across New Hampshire.
We coordinate a peer-to-peer team here to help our officers through critical incidents after they occur.
Manchester PD has 21 officers trained to help others on the force to deal with calls that might take a toll on them.
We'll check in with them. We'll acknowledge the critical incident that they just went through. We'll begin to start talking with them about some of the things that they may experience, maybe the physical effects, the emotional effects.
By talking about it and being open, first responders want to curb a reality that they and so many others deal with.
We want to make sure that they know that they're not going to be stigmatized if they're having problems or issues, and we want them to get the help so this doesn't happen again.
Funeral services for Captain Lado will be announced soon. The chief also wants to thank everyone for their support, as evident by this showing of love outside of the police department tonight. Reporting live in Nashua, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And our thoughts and prayers go to all the workers at the Nashua Police Department and to that officer's family. New Hampshire health officials issue warning about vaping. Number of vaping devices seized from students increasing, principal says. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
Chapel Tractor has been in our family since 1955, when great-grandfather Pearlie and our grandfather George decided to sell.
These are some of the vaping devices that Memorial High School staff have seized from students in the last couple of years. Some are hard to identify, looking more like a thumb drive than an e-cigarette.
It's a concern. There's a concern on a number of reasons.
Principal Arthur Adamakis says in the last school year, the number of vaping cases has tripled compared to the year before. He says it's a problem almost everywhere, and they're just starting to understand the risks and ways to stop it.
It's not as clear-cut as finding cigarettes and a lighter on someone like the old days used to be. Now they're a little bit more sophisticated than that, and that's what really makes our job a little bit more difficult to stop.
Health officials say they've seen an increase of vaping-related lung injuries, and there have been 6 deaths across the country linked to vaping. So far, nothing like that has been reported in New Hampshire, but the state health department is sending out a warning.
By 12th grade, upwards of 1 in 3 high school seniors report using electronic vaping products, which is a major concern because they can potentially set up a pattern of lifelong addiction to tobacco products and can also have serious health consequences.
Manchester school officials say they will be presenting an anti-vaping program to the school board later this month that will include a mentoring program where older students will talk with younger ones about the dangerous realities of vaping. Reporting live, I'm Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Philadelphia Transit Police switch from Sig Sauer pistol after gun discharges. Transit officer says gun fired while in holster. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Chapel tractor has been in our family since 1955, when great-grandfather Pearlie and our grandfather George decided to sell...
Well, no one was injured, but a spokesperson for the Southeastern Pennsylvania Transportation Authority, or SEPTA, tells us the decision to transition away from this particular model of Sig Sauer firearms was for the safety of its officers and riders. SEPTA has had a contract with Newington-based Sig Sauer since 2003. Trenton officers had received the P320 model several years ago, and SEPTA says it received a complimentary upgrade from the manufacturer last year due to a possible mechanical defect with the P320. In 2017, Sig Sauer released a statement about the voluntary upgrade, stating that events indicated that dropping the firearm could cause an unintentional discharge. The incident in Philadelphia happened late last month. Two officers reported hearing a loud bang as they got out of an electric car and smelled gunpowder. The spokesperson says that's when they discovered one of their firearms had discharged while in its holster.
It's a preliminary finding at this point, but so far they have failed to be able to identify the reason why the weapon discharged without manipulation by the officer. So it's the officer did not take any action or do anything that caused the gun to discharge.
Now, that spokesperson says this incident involved the upgraded version of the P320. The department placed an emergency order of 350 Glock 17s and will soon begin the transition. For now, it's borrowing firearms from the Philadelphia Police Department. We reached out to Sig Sauer for reaction. They did not immediately return our call. Live in the studio, Siobhan Lopez, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Portsmouth police say sidewalk graffiti was not anti-Semitic. Chalk drawing was washed away. Police in Portsmouth said they do not believe graffiti found in Market Square was anti-Semitic. A Portsmouth detective told News 9 that the symbol drawn on the sidewalk on Congress Street was not a swastika, but rather a Buddhist symbol. Police said they have obtained surveillance video of the man and woman who drew it Tuesday morning and that they want to talk to them. The symbol was drawn in chalk. Police washed it off the sidewalk. And now let's take a look at your 2020 New Hampshire candidate tracker for Friday, September 13, 2019. There are two candidates today in New Hampshire. First candidate, Tim Ryan. He has two events today in New Hampshire. His first event is a meeting with New Hampshire Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence in Concord, New Hampshire at 11 a.m. His second event is attending second annual Mindfulness in Society Conference in Concord, New Hampshire at 1:45 p.m. Bill Weld, he has four events today in New Hampshire. His first event, attend Rotary Club meeting in Bow, New Hampshire at 7:30 a.m. His second event, Student Assembly at Concord High School in Concord, New Hampshire at 9:30 a.m. His third event, Tour of Prescott Environmental Education Center in Laconia, New Hampshire at 2 p.m. And his fourth event, Tour of Apple Tree Nursery in Tilton, New Hampshire at 3:30 p.m. And those are all the candidates that will be in New Hampshire today. Dow and S&P close to all-time record as U.S. future point to a slightly higher open. U.S. stock index were slightly higher Friday morning, putting the Dow Industrial Index and S&P on a brink of strength all-time record highs. In Democratic debate last night on ABC, the moments that mattered. Let's take a look at that video from ABC News.
Now, I may not be the loudest person up here, but I think we've already got that in the White House. Houston, we have a problem.
My campaign will now give a freedom dividend of $1,000 a month for an entire year to 10 American families. Someone watching this at home right now. It's original, I'll give you that.
So, President Trump, you've spent the last 2.5 years full-time trying to sow hate and division among us. And I plan on focusing on our common issues, our common hopes and desires, and in that way unifying our country, winning this election, and turning the page for America. And now, President Trump, you can go back to watching Fox News.
I, who wrote the damn bill, if I may say so.
And while Bernie wrote the bill, I read the bill. And on page 8 of the bill, it says that we will no longer have private insurance as we know it.
They're going to give back that money to the employee? Matter of fact, they will. Well, let me tell you something. For a socialist, you got a lot more confidence in corporate America than I do. You got to defend the fact that 500,000 Americans are going bankrupt. You know why they're going bankrupt? Because they suffered a terrible disease, cancer or heart disease. I know a lot about cancer. Let me tell you something. It's personal to me.
Barack Obama's vision was not to leave 10 million people uncovered.
They do not have to buy in.
You just said that. You just said that 2 minutes ago. You just said 2 minutes ago that they would have to buy in. You said they would have to buy in.
Have to buy in. If you qualify for
Are you forgetting what you said 2 minutes ago?
Be in for it.
I'm fulfilling the legacy of Barack Obama, and you're not.
I'll be surprised to him.
This reminds everybody of what they cannot stand about Washington. Scoring points against each other, poking at each other, and telling each other that you're my plan, your plan. Look, we all
that's called a Democratic primary election. That's called an election. That's an election. You know, this is what we're here for. It's an election.
Are you proposing taking away their guns, and how would this work?
I am. If it's a weapon that was designed to kill people on a battlefield, hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15, your AK-47. We're not going to allow it to be used against our fellow Americans anymore.
Are you prepared to say tonight that you and President Obama made a mistake about deportations? Why should Latinos cross?
What Latinos should look at is comparing this president to the president we have is outrageous. Number one, we didn't lock people up in cages. We didn't separate families.
Every time something good about Barack Obama comes up, he says, oh, I was there. That's me too. And then every time somebody questions part of the administration that we were both part of, he says, well, that was the president. I mean, he wants to take credit for Obama's work, but not have to answer to any questions.
Donald Trump, in office on trade policy, you know, he reminds me of that guy in The Wizard of Oz, you know, when you pull back the curtain, it's a really small dude.
Okay. I'm not even going to take the bait.
My biggest professional setback is embarrassing because a lot of folks know about it. I, with a bunch of tenant leaders in Newark, New Jersey in 2002, took on the political machine, and boy, did they fight back. I had tires on my car slashed, our campaign offices were broken into. And here's a bit of advice to everybody. If you're going to have a spectacular failure, have a documentary team there to capture it, because it made for an Oscar-nominated documentary called Street Fight. But then, unfortunately, another setback, it lost in the Oscars to a movie called March of the Dagnap Penguins, for crying out loud.
Thank you to all of our candidates. It was a great debate. I think we learned a lot tonight. Thanks to you.
Okay, and there you go. And we want to hear from you. Our question of the day: did you watch last night's debate? And if you watched last night's debate, what did you think of it? Comment below and let us know. We want to hear from you. And that does it for this morning edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here later on today for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Goodbye, everyone.